From the trout streams of North Georgia to the temperate waters off Georgia's pristine coastline, an abundance of opportunity awaits any eager angler. Coming up, we'll explore some of the diverse fishing opportunities Georgia has to offer. Next on Georgia Outdoors.
Funding for Georgia Outdoors has been made possible by a grant from Mary Hall Singleton and by the Imlay Foundation.
Fishing in Georgia is a tradition that's been enjoyed from generation to generation. Whether you're fishing for brim in a small pond or public fishing area, striper or largemouth bass in one of our many large reservoirs, or angling for tarpon or shark in our coastal waters, there's something for everyone in Georgia. All you need is a fishing license.
Well, if you think about Georgia, it's a very large state and we have a lot of water in terms of fresh water. We have 500,000 acres of reservoir in Georgia. Striped bass is very popular. Crappie is extremely popular fish amongst anglers in Georgia. You have catfish, which still ranks up there, and of course your brim species, all your bluegill and red ear and things of those nature.
Of the many species of game fish in Georgia, perhaps the most popular belong to the black bass family.
There are 7 recognized species of black bass, and Georgia actually has 6 of those species. Not only largemouth bass, but we have the shoal bass and spotted bass and Swanee bass, red-eyed bass, and smallmouth bass.
Without a doubt, the most sought-after game fish in Georgia is the largemouth bass. In fact, Georgia boasts the world record largemouth bass, a 22-pound, 4-ounce whopper caught by George Perry in 1932.
They're a hard-fighting fish. It kind of puts people on a level playing field because you can catch black bass in a variety of methods, whether you fish on the bottom, top water, mid-water column. It's just a great, exciting fish, and it's always been kind of hailed as one of the premier game fish in freshwater.
Georgia is so renowned for its largemouth bass fishery, it's a major stop on the Bassmaster Pro Elite Tour, attracting some of the top anglers from across the country every year. We visited the 2007 Bassmaster stop at Clarks Hill Lake near Augusta.
Tournaments are becoming more and more of an economic force within the nation. These guys are the top pros, and it helps us highlight the great fisheries that we have here in Georgia and here on Clarks Hill.
Clarks Hill is a great location. We've been here 3 straight years. The fan base is incredible out here. The fishery is an excellent fishery. You see a lot of good competition at this event, generally because the weights are pretty close between the leaders. So the fan base, fishery, and Georgia as a whole, the whole state is somewhere where we enjoy going, especially with their commitment to fishing and fishing tournaments.
Well, Georgia, I think, is one of the premier states. Really, there's a lot of water here. The Game and Fish Department does a good job managing the water. There are link limits that help to control the fishery, and those are some of the things that you can do to make the fishing better. So it's a really good fishery. Most every place I've been in Georgia is a good place to fish.
It's Danny Brower with a limit of 5 fish. He's 12-11 away from the lead.
Georgia's a good state, it really is. I think this is the 3rd or 4th time we've been here, and we've hit a little bit different every time. So it's been an interesting lake, different water levels, and different times of the year, as far as what the fish are doing.
Well, I fish lots of tournaments, in different places in Georgia. The neat thing about them is the lakes are quite diverse, but they have a lot of clear water. A lot of the lakes are real clear, and that's just like I fish at home.
This too will move him up the leaderboard in that race as well.
Known to South Carolinians as Lake Strom-Thurmond, Clarks Hill Lake is Georgia's largest reservoir. In fact, it's the largest man-made lake east of the Mississippi.
We have a total of 150,000 acres, 70,000 acres of land, 80,000 acres of water, and approximately 1,200 miles of shoreline. We get folks from all over the southeast that fish here. Obviously the Bassmasters folks are excited. They've been back with us several years now over at Wildwood. Fabulous fishing lake if you're a fisherman.
Gentlemen, please start lining up. It is 6:28. 6:28 and 39 seconds. If you could please start getting in place.
It's a 4-day tournament. Cumulative weight wins the tournament, so the best weight over 4 days takes home $100,000. The first 2 days of fishing is all 108 anglers. There's a professional side and an amateur side. The co-angler side fishes out of the back of the boat while the pro fishes out of the front of the boat and determines what areas they go to fish to. After the second day, we cut to the top 50 co-anglers and professionals. After Saturday, which is our third day, the co-angler champion is crowned. They win $25,000. Then on the fourth and final day, we cut to the top 12 pro anglers, and the top 12 duke it out for the $100,000 prize.
We joined Bass Pro Todd Otten from South Carolina as he set out for a day of fishing on Clarks Hill Lake.
It was kind of funny the way I started out fishing as a pro, because I fished in the clubs, then I fished the Federation, and actually I've done good in a few tournaments. And one of my buddies, he was already fishing pro. He got me to come out, and I fished like 2 or 3 tournaments the first year. I done pretty good in them. There he is. I got a check at like 3 out of 4 tournaments, and I was like, man, I might make a living doing this. Not a real big one, but he's a keeper. Well, this lake, I've been here now, it makes about 3 times. This time the water level being low, and the fish, you know, they've been spawning real heavy, and now we got this cold front come in. Yeah, a couple pounds. Need them a lot bigger than that, though. Well, they might hit this jerkbait a little better. Really, the bigger fish, for me, seem to be in transition from the shallow water to the deep water points and stuff where they're gonna, you know, feed up before they move out. In the past, usually, you know, you can come out here this time of year and throw a topwater or spinnerbait on these shoals and catch a lot of bass. For me this time, it's been a lot tougher, and I've had to slow down and fish Carolina rig and little jigs, little finesse jigs around stumps. And you can catch some fish doing that. Somebody's probably more than likely going to get on a deep school of fish and just sit there the whole tournament and probably win it. All the Georgia lakes, seems like the fishing is always really good when we come to Georgia. You catch a lot of fish, and there's a lot of good quality fish here. A lot of bad fish.
The weigh-ins at the Bassmasters tournament are exciting events indeed, drawing spectators from far and wide to watch the action.
Make sure you're ready to have some fun with us. The world's going to be watching all the action from here.
Weigh-ins are designed for public, not only to be able to learn some tips about fishing their own body of water, but to be able to see the personalities that we have to offer in the pros. The other big facet of this event is there's television coverage on ESPN2, and nearly 300,000 people watch that every week.
Let's meet our next pro, Todd Otten, out of Lake Wiley, South Carolina.
You know, we ended up squeaking out a little limit, but nothing like I needed for today. But you know, tomorrow's a different day.
Hang on for the ride, Todd.
You can get well quick here. You could, you know, catch 20 pounds off one spot easy.
But you don't have to be a pro angler to enjoy fishing in Georgia. We met with a couple of fisheries biologists who happen to be avid sport anglers as well.
Well, I started fishing on big lakes, on big reservoirs when I was probably 13 years old. But I've been fishing since I was probably, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years old, just in family farm ponds. Started off, you know, catching bluegill and brim and catfish, and then slowly progressed up fishing for largemouth bass.
Today, Tony and Chris are fishing the same area the Bassmaster pros tackled, the points and coves of Clarks Hill Lake.
Caught him on a shaky head with a watermelon seed trick worm. We're out here trying to catch some largemouth bass. It's late April. The fish are in all stages of the spawn. They're pre, post, and actually some fish actually on during the spawn. And we're out here just throwing some crankbaits and some topwater baits and just trying to catch a few largemouth bass today.
I've probably been fishing in Georgia 20 to 22 years, since I was a kid, 4 or 5 years old. I got into fishing because my dad took me fishing, my grandparents took me fishing. They both fished as a child, and they kind of just instilled in me the same types of outdoor values or outdoor interests, and I just kind of took it up myself as well.
Probably the best time of year to get out and catch quality fish is early spring through the spring period. When those fish are coming up to actually do the spawning, when they get up shallow, they're just more vulnerable to lures. They tend to get a little bit more aggressive when they get up there, and they get around their spawning areas, and they're guarding their eggs and they're guarding their fry. Nice fish.
Though Tony and Chris have a lot of gear with them, it doesn't take a lot to get started bass fishing in Georgia.
For somebody to get started bass fishing in Georgia, you could actually start off using the basics like a Zebco 33, which is like a closed-faced spinning type reel. Some of the basic lures, or plastic worms, are probably one of the most popular basic lures that you can use, and probably been more fish caught on a plastic worm than any other lure. So another one on the little weightless trick worm there.
For me, it's just a break from reality. It's just the peacefulness, the calmness. When I'm out here, the stress, my worries are, somewhere far away. I'm not thinking about them. I'm just out here, trying to enjoy the day, trying to enjoy my time. I like the challenge. Just a great feeling when you do kind of conquer those challenges and actually, are successful and able to catch fish.
Nice little bass. Not going to win many bass tournaments with that one, but still fun to catch.
Fishing can be a fun and relaxing way to spend the day. However, it is important to remember you're not the only one on the water. Always be courteous to other boaters, especially at the boat ramp. Prepare the boat in the parking lot before approaching the ramp. This includes checking the battery and fuel levels, securing bimini tops, loading coolers and life jackets, and readying the dock line. Always wait your turn. Whether loading or unloading, it is the order of vehicles that determines the order of launch or retrieval. Use a waiting dock to avoid ramp congestion while waiting on a vehicle. Keep your speed down while approaching the dock in the water. Too much wake can make it difficult for others to launch or retrieve their boats. Do not block the ramp. When you're ready to get out of the water, use a tie-off or have a friend watch your boat at the waiting dock while you get your car. For more information, visit this website.
In Georgia, a fishing license not only gives you the right to take your rod and reel to just about any body of water you choose, but funds from license sales also go to help manage the very fish you're angling for. From striper bass to trout, in Georgia, thousands of fish are raised each year in hatcheries to be stocked in our lakes and streams. We visited Somerville Trout Hatchery in North Georgia to see how the process works.
When the eggs arrive, we inspect the eggs to make sure there was no damage to the coolers or the eggs or the trays.
At this delicate stage in their life cycle, ultraviolet light can be damaging, so filters must be used to create a more gentle pink light.
We just gradually bring the temperature of the eggs up to what the water temperature in our hatchery is.
The eggs must be kept in constant motion.
We adjust the water flow to where the eggs are just kind of gently rolling.
The eggs will spend 5 to 10 days in the softly churning water of the jars before they hatch and are moved to roomier troughs. Once these fry reach about 3 inches in length, they're ready for the next leg of their journey, which takes them to Buford Trout Hatchery, located in Cumming, Georgia. Here they will continue to grow until they're ready to be stocked in rivers and lakes around the state.
Although the name implies that we hatch fish, Buford Trout Hatchery, we don't do that anymore. We get most of our fish from either Somerville State Fish Hatchery or from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service hatchery system. And we can grow fish at about 1/2 inch a month.
Once the fish are big enough to venture out into the world, they're ready to be loaded into specialized trucks used for stocking.
Our trucks are limited, and they can only carry 200, 230 pounds per compartment. So we have to sample them to know the number of fish per pound. We load the fish by hand into trucks, and our trucks are insulated. They have aeration. They've also got oxygenation. Our fish are good for anywhere between 2 and 6 hours.
Now that the fish are safely loaded, the trucks head for the river.
This is Whitewater Park in the Chattahoochee River National Recreation Area. It's an excellent place to go fishing. A lot of good wading here, but what we don't have is good access to get the truck down to the river. So we use volunteers to help us carry fish in.
All right, here we go.
They are helping unload the truck, put the fish into buckets, carry the fish out and put them into their fishing hole in the Chattahoochee River. The fish are going to acclimate rather quickly. Although they've been fed pellets all their lives, most of them will switch to invertebrates in the river. Instinctually, they'll make the switch.
While raising and stocking fish is the primary responsibility of fish hatcheries, they're also great places to visit. Some hatcheries, like the Buford Trout Hatchery, offer tours and fishing opportunities. Today, this wolf pack from Grayson, Georgia, is taking advantage of everything the hatchery has to offer.
Are we ready? Quick, hurry up. We just tell people a little bit about the trout hatchery, a little bit about what we do. We show them some fish, tell them about the fish feed and about the river. We just do a variety of things. It normally lasts about 45 minutes, and it's available every Saturday.
During the tour, visitors get a glimpse of what it takes to raise fish, as well as a little hands-on experience.
We let the kids feed the fish, we let them catch fish or try to catch fish.
A couple of my friends, I didn't do it, but they tried to catch their fish with bare hands.
Females are going to be wide and broad. They're going to have a snout that has a rounded head as opposed to a convex head.
No tour of the Buford Trout Hatchery is complete without a trip to the pond to try and reel in a few live ones.
I caught it!
We have an 0.8 of an acre pond. I contend that it's the most fished water in Georgia. We have people come out almost all year long and fish.
Getting kids involved in fishing helps to instill a healthy love of the outdoors, which will last a lifetime. And the great thing about fishing is you can do it anywhere in Georgia. The Georgia coast supports a healthy and diverse fishery, and saltwater fishing is a growing pastime. These kids are out today to try their hand at fishing a saltwater pond on Jekyll Island.
Today is our Youth Fishing Day. It's part of our Georgia Redfish Rally, and we were holding it on Jekyll Island. This was an opportunity to get some kids involved in fishing, to bring them out, to introduce them to fishing, perhaps some for the first time.
What kind of fish were those that we caught?
Spot.
Yes, we got 2 spotted fish. They were 2 nice-sized fish, too, for her to be able to reel in by herself. A lot of fun. I'm expecting we're going to get a few more before the day's over with.
This pond that we're fishing in today has 3 connections to salt water, and so wild fish, as whether they're fry or fingerlings or maybe perhaps even some larger fish, will come in and out of this pond.
The pond here is also an important stocking area for the Peach State Reds initiative, our state's first attempt at raising and stocking a saltwater species, the red drum.
The Peach State Reds initiative is the department's 5-year program to look at stocking of red drum, to determine whether it's ecologically sound and whether it's cost effective to grow redfish in the hatchery situation and put them in the wild. We have this 23-acre saltwater impoundment here. We brought down 1,200 6-inch fish last March, and we released those into the pond. Those fish grow about an inch a month.
But most importantly, the event gives these kids a taste of the excitement of reeling in their first catch.
I think it's important just to get out and do things other than sitting at the house. The kids in one room watching cartoons, you're in the other room watching television or doing something else. You can really get out and fish and do things together. So I just think just family time doing things together is important.
Fishing on the coast is slightly different than fishing more inland bodies of water, but there are some similarities. We decided to take an avid coastal angler and a more inland angler out for the day to see what they could reel in. Spud Woodward and Bert Diener are fisheries biologists for the Department of Natural Resources, who are out among Georgia's inshore marshes and offshore waves enjoying a day of fishing.
We're fishing today in the marshes of Glen and the St. Simons estuary, and we're targeting speckled trout, redfish, flounder, and we're doing it with some of the tactics and techniques and equipment that are typically used for freshwater fishing.
Freshwater fishermen looking for new experiences can often be intimidated by the thought of saltwater fishing. But many of the same rules, tactics, and equipment used in freshwater fishing can also be used in close offshore environments. One example is bait.
For years, saltwater fishermen have generally been live bait fishermen. And what we were doing are using artificial baits that mimic these natural baits. This is something that's been used in freshwater fishing, particularly for largemouth bass, for decades and decades. And in the recent years, it's gotten very popular. And we're using soft plastics, some of the synthetic soft baits, as well as some of the hard baits, or otherwise known as crankbaits, that mimic bait fish and shrimp.
The first kind of fish that the duo is after is speckled trout. These beautiful fish are found swimming throughout Georgia's inshore marshes.
Speckled trout is probably the most popular with most of our recreational anglers. It's a great table fish. They grow to be about 5 or 6 pounds. It's commonly available in our waters throughout the year.
A good way to find this fish is by using a tactic called structure fishing.
There's several kinds of structure in the inshore environment. There's natural structure, oyster shell mounds, large areas where live oysters are congregated together. There's fallen trees. There's man-made structures, which are rock jetties, markers that are used for navigational purposes.
Another freshwater tactic that can easily be adapted to saltwater fishing is called trolling, the process of using a small electric motor to move a boat slowly through the water.
You're moving at a slow rate, presenting baits in a natural fashion, and the advantage is that trolling gives you an opportunity to cover large areas. The new trolling motors are made out of corrosion-resistant materials. They're pretty durable. They don't rust away or wear out just after a couple of trips.
Trout aren't the only fish inhabiting these beautiful, salty inshore marshes. Redfish are one of the more popular catches in this environment.
Redfish are a creature that literally lurks in just about every habitat type you find in coastal Georgia, from mud flats to oyster mounds to flooded marsh grass to the surf on the barrier islands, so it's really a little bit of everywhere. Inshore fishing, typically you're looking for redfish in the same place you're looking for trout. The mouths of tidal creeks, the shorelines of tidal rivers, they like to orient themselves around oyster shell mounds. Just like a bass fisherman working a point in a reservoir, you blind cast and try to attract the attention of those fish that you suspect are there but don't know because you can't see them. Hey, you got a tag in him too.
Occasionally, anglers might come across a redfish that's been tagged. Fish tagging is something that many state and national agencies practice in order to help manage the fish population.
If an angler encounters a tagged fish, look at the tag to determine where the tag came from. They need to record the number off the tag, the species of the fish, the length of the fish.
It is 28.
Most of them will have a phone number, and it's a chance for anglers to be citizen scientists and part of the fishery management process.
There are a few things for freshwater anglers to keep in mind when making the transition to saltwater.
One of the things that's a little intimidating but manageable is the fact that we have twice-a-day tides that range from 6 to 9 feet. That's really the common denominator that affects everybody, whether you're in a big cargo ship or you're in a kayak. Everybody has to deal with the tides, but they're predictable, they're manageable. If you're new to an area, it's always advisable to go out at low tide, slow down, and just go out and familiarize yourself. Find out what the sandbars are, find out where the oyster shell is, because all that's going to help you when you try to fish those areas at higher stages of the tide.
The corrosive powers of salt water should also be taken into account. Properly washing and cleaning equipment after use in salt water will keep it from suffering a shortened lifespan. Next, Spud and Bert moved into the close offshore waters of St. Simons and Jekyll Islands. Here, they target a different kind of fish, the triple tail. The triple tail has a unique behavior which sets it apart from many other fish in coastal Georgia.
These fish will float on their sides at the surface. Prey fish and other animals will come up underneath them, attracted to the shadow they form, and then they can turn around and ambush feed. What we do is stalk those fish by going out in the boats, idling along and looking for these fish floating on the surface. Right there. He's gone. He went down. He's gone. Then once you see one, you've got this sort of ballet dance of the boat handler and the fisherman all trying to maneuver around to be able to present this bait. In this case, we're using live shrimp under small corks, close enough to the triple tail to attract its attention, but not so close as to scare it whenever the float lands on the water. And it's one of the most exciting challenges we have in fishing in coastal Georgia because it combines hunting and then stalking and actually presenting a bait to an animal and trying to entice it to strike. And then once you hook it, then you've got what amounts to a bluegill on steroids that jumps out of the water.
There you go. Good deal. That's a triple tail.
In the coastal area of Georgia is an opportunity to see some of the most beautiful scenery in the state. I love the challenge of it. It's the diversity, the fact that on this cast it may be a 17-inch trout, the next cast it may be a 20-inch redfish, the next cast it may be a 16-inch flounder. It's just a visually pleasing place to be.
As we've seen, there are many opportunities for fishing in Georgia. Fishing not only gives you that adrenaline rush of reeling in the big one, it helps connect you with the natural world. So whether you're on a lake, stream, or out in the open water, get out and experience the joy of fishing.
Funding for Georgia Outdoors has been made possible by a grant from Mary Hall Singleton and by the Imlay Foundation.